Vaughn, excuse me, sorry, you are muted. You have to, if you unmute, and we can do a recording and we'll trim away. There we go.
Okay.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Morena. Koutou katoa. Hello, everybody. Ka tīmata aho, tēnei hui, me hei karakia. I'll start this hui with a karakia, a prayer. E tō mātou mātua, kua rui anei o pura pura pai. Ho mai e koe he nako ho, kia tupu aki ai. Kia ke te ai na hua. Ake, ake, ake. Amen. Taku toi kupu, my poem. I will read my poem first in my first language, Te Reo Māori. Tamati Cairns, 1946 to 2025. Kei te taha aho ia koe taku hoa. Me pēhea e wari wari a ai aho kia koe. He tangata ahurei, he tangata motuhaki. He maha na kata, he maha na memeni i na wā katoa. He manawa kaimārie, he roro mohio i tangata tino māhaki koe. Tēnā koe motu āwhina. Tēnā koe motu tautoko. Tēnā koe mona mea katoa. I kore oho i wari wari kia koe. Kia oki oki kua mo ake tonu atu taku hoa. Ka kiti aho ia koe i te rangi. Ka huri aho ki te reo Ingarihi. So now I will read the poem in English, an approximate translation, because of course languages don't quite gel translation-wise. So Tamati Cairns was a great friend and mentor for me who passed away during last year. This poem's a requiem for Tamati. I miss you, my friend. How can I forget you? A unique man, a special man. Lots of laughter, lots of smiles all the time. A bountiful heart, a smart brain, a very humble man. Thank you for all your help. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything. I will not forget you. Rest in peace happily forever, my friend. I will see you in heaven. So that's my poem for Tamati. And can I just announce one other thing? I just found out about 20 minutes ago. I'm the winner of the AAALS Indigenous Poetry Prize, which is an international prize, which I'm very happy about because that's very meritorious. So I'm very proud and I'm showing off. Okay.
What a wonderful start to the day. Kia ora, Vaughn. Congratulations. Yes. Big congratulations from all of us. We might be among the first people to hear your news. That's so exciting.
Well, you will. I just got an email before I came onto the Zoom. So there you go.
What a great way to celebrate language. Absolutely fantastic.
Yes, it's a poem in Maori, totally in Maori, so that it really ties in with Sui.
Wow, that's wonderful. And it was for an international language competition, is that correct?
It's under the auspices of Antipodes, which is an American-based journal relating to Antipodes, Australia and New Zealand. And it's a prize annually for Indigenous poetry, Indigenous writing, and also creative non-Indigenous writing and poetry. Yeah. And it's quite well known.
Yeah.
Quite sought
I've heard
after.
Of Antipodes. I know the journal. That's wonderful.
I will mute now.
Congratulations. Okay? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kia ora kato. That is such a nice way to start our panel this morning. I'm Michelle Elvey. I'm the founding editor of Flash Frontier and National Flash Fiction Day. And every year we organize this Festival of Flash. It's a way to, in addition to our in-person sessions that we run all around the country on June 22nd, which is National Flash Fiction Day, we also have a series of online panels and reading, which, as you can tell, this is our opening session of the day of the whole festival. And as you can tell, it's international, it's across time zones, and we have incredible readers, languages, and just an enormous amount of goodwill that comes together in these sessions. So I really appreciate everybody who is here now for this session and who's joining later ones in the day and tomorrow. And also to be getting up early today to start with our languages is really wonderful. Thank you also to viewers. These sessions are live streamed. They also are recorded and they show up on our websites later after the whole festival is over. All the panels go up. So you can go back and watch again and again. But if you are watching the live stream, that's great too. And we welcome you and thank you very much. So with that, I will say, once more, kia ora, welcome, willkommen,
Bienvenidos.
bienvenidos, and all of that. Bonjour. And I'm going to hand over next. We're going to go around in this session, and each person will just introduce themselves, say a little bit, and then read their stories in English and their other language. And you will soon see there are many, many languages here. So the next reader up, I'm just going to introduce is Jane Davidson, because we have an external Spanish reader supporting Jane. And Jane will say a little bit about the story and the reasons for it being written. It's a beautiful story that was published in Flash Frontier. And then after you read Jane, then Pilar, who's here also with us, will be reading the Spanish. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Jane, and say once more to everybody, welcome. I'm really looking forward to hearing all of your work in your languages, in your beautiful languages. Thank you. Jane.
Kia ora. Buenos dias. I'm writing a piece today on behalf of my Argentinian mother who passed away fairly recently after a long illness. And through various reasons of migration and assimilation, it's not my language. So it was Spanish is my mother's first language and my grandparents' first language, but I don't get the Spanish. Thank you very much for helping. So I'm just writing a story about this. I felt a lot of grief before my mother's passing about the fact that she was ending her life in a place that was not her first country. It was not even her second country. It was several countries, and she didn't actually know where she was at the end of her life. And paradoxically, when she passed away, it made me feel, for some strange reason, that I truly belong to the town that I live in, having helped her with that transition. So this was a poem that was written quite soon after that event, about incidents of things that were happening around about that time. And this is called Hearted Stars Returning. The sun's midwintery glare refracts rainbows off the misty morning, shimmering across my iris, making me squint and release salt. I feel slow and sad. Crystalline orbs stick in my throat as I surface to face an overnight frost. The cat tiptoes across sparkly grass. This mitochondrial Matariki, season of the Seven Sisters, a wave of out-of-time Tane jumps ship. One literally lost at sea. One expired from a broken heart. One flew back on a plane in a box of bits. And one died from alcohol and rock and roll. All four missing in action from the belly of our town. We gathered and sang Puriane to cleanse and redeem. We are left on shore, rooted to the ground. We wish you well, but too soon gone on your immaculate journey. We wish you skies of peace. Hey, Mama, the next day, as we drove through soft rain on the top road to reach you, you, out of the blue, take no prisoners, jet out at 8 a.m. that Friday morning. We sent you off over the ocean. Your schoolgirl sass, young adult grace, and long-beating heart, migrating north now towards Cape Reinga, then arcing east, approaching Buenos Aires, flaring through the atmosphere like a shooting star's tail, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. You are part of the galaxy now. Back on ground zero, we are learning how to live with and without you. Kia ora. Hello. Thank you. Gracias.
Okay. Buenos días. Mi nombre es Pilar Baeza y voy a leer para ustedes en español. Good morning, everyone. My name is Pilar Baeza and I'm gonna read in Spanish for you. Corazón de estrellas regresa. El resplandor invernal del sol refracta los arcoíris de la brumosa mañana, brillando a través de mi iris, haciéndome entrecerrar los ojos y liberar sal. Me siento lento y triste, Estos obres cristalinos acuosos se me pegan a la garganta mientras salgo a la superficie para enfrentarme a una helada nocturna. El gato camina de puntillas sobre la hierba brillante. Este Matariki mitocondrial, temporada de las 7 hermanas. Una ola de Tane fuera de tiempo, salta de barco. 1. Literalmente, nunca visto desde entonces. Uno expiró por un corazón roto. Uno voló de regreso a un avión en una caja de bits. Uno murió a causa del alcohol y el rock and roll. Desaparecido, en acción, desde las entrañas de nuestro pueblo. Nos reunimos y cantamos Purea Nei para limpiar y redimir. Nos quedamos arraigados en la tierra. Reconocemos que se fueron demasiado pronto. Les deseamos lo mejor en su viaje inmaculado. Les deseamos cielo de paz. Mamá, el día siguiente, mientras conducíamos bajo una ligera lluvia por la carretera principal para llegar a ti. Tú, de repente, nos haces prisioneros. Chorro fuera, a las 8 de la mañana de ese viernes. Te enviamos a casa cruzando el océano. Tu descaro de colegiala, tu gracia de joven adulta y tu corazón palpitante, migrando al norte hacia Cabo Renga. Luego, girando a la derecha hacia Buenos Aires, regresando por la estratosfera, carbono, oxígeno, nitrógeno, destellos en la cola de una estrella fugaz. Ahora formas parte de la galaxia. De vuelta a la zona cero, estamos aprendiendo a vivir contigo y sin ti.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Muchas
You're
gracias.
De nada.
Wonderful that we could have Pilar visiting. Oh, I'm Michelle. I'll go back to renaming myself in just a moment. But really wonderful to have a guest who could come in and support you, Jane.
Thank you
It's-
very much.
Yes, and it's wonderful to hear that, Vaughn and I have had many conversations about languages because you all will know the volume Te Moana Reo, Ocean of Languages, which was published last year that Vaughn and I edited together. That volume has more than 40 languages in Aotearoa, and there's more, but that was from submissions in the works that we gathered with people having their fictions and sometimes creative nonfictions. Like I think Jane's is, certainly Vaughn's is also, a tribute. So in this realm of nonfiction and fiction, that kind of line between them, we hear a lot about how people are talking about their languages, why languages are so important to our heritage and our culture. And so it's really wonderful to have those first two pieces from Vaughn and Jane with Pilar reading that, hold up this idea that languages, it's more than just whether you are a fluent speaker. It is your heritage. It is your, your place in the world, really. So thank you very much. And thank you, Pili. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Hassan. And then after Hassan, you will just go down the list and pick up from each other, and we'll settle in and hear everyone read. And at the end, we'll unmute and we'll come back together and say hello again. Thank you very much. Welcome, Hassan. And just remember to unmute.
Thank you. Kube lozo ane, kube kazo ane, suneme Mahasa Muhammad, Mino, Nigeria. Hi, once again, I am Mahasa Muhammad. I am speaking from Mina, Nigeria. I write across all the genres of literature. I write fiction, non-fiction, poetry. I also enjoy writing and I am I'm originally from Bida, which is a Nupe-speaking area, and I'm also a civil servant. I'd like to first read my story in my language, Nupe, and follow it up with the English version. I hope that's okay. So, Lokachaji, no, looking, that's the title. The Emi Nubo Latin in bubo wanyi sarai waje jikanagi be ego etikagbochi chigbagigi wanyi ke egwana na vona tikagbochi fepi ebielugi tati kin sasanacho ongba eti gilaso egya uwochi magi petubo ke wagagan emiugun ekan twangi na abatana ebache moton vuvo nimbo banaku takadaji kpena gikinigya kapa banu gina egwatu takaduji naji kukunawo ke wagagan awo midana mfekpa gan walagwa kperegiuji biuna karayin kendo gbogbo zage kpe bidoji lokaci gbenfere bana gwina amma eguja batan tun daga nan yayi kan ikunji yan zumago latiu bona bayan ciban basil na gobagana kpakpagi na gikana ko tako fifingyo lilo gikini be uwajia gikini be uwaza yan kukufi tunani be fifingi egi jikanagi na gangbin nuwana gikini be zayin yan egbau yan ebo na ji ukpana bandit ji lele kpaka ben nuyi dan mini masalacho egun na to yegiu izagina wonto anyiba rayuwa be ndoyin na dan kinde mbogbani na ìyàwó ọkùnrin mìíràn yendoche sansan dangba kuwo ki amfaniyan takado na ekpelu fiagwa zamba dan yona kpakokungwa unpya ni kede lokaci ajina ba yi wuce biani na wagan ya kuja na wala nan kpachi ulo pa woro kashi wọn kuka akwa pe unfe tugbanyin ya kuja lo pa fonkoke wotun rungba eti glass window na ẹ̀yìn wuci bo alokin ekakun mo alola sona lokaci aji na wunga alokin na. Thank you. So the English version now. Time to turn into earth. Outside our window, the garden has grown wild, brown with weeds. Shrubs like uninvited arms. An obstinate beetle rolls a broad bellet across the cracked soil. Dust clings to the glass. Dried mosquito blood dots the pen like forgotten constellations. The air reeks of decay. Inside, the bookshelf slouches in the corner, its old books untouched, like a woman longing for her frail fingers to pry the pages open, gently, like a woman's thighs yielding to her maternal heat. But her hands have forgotten them. Ever since she lost her last set of teeth in the garden, somewhere near the overground bell, the rusty borehole, or beneath the steel swing's shadow, she has stopped searching, stopped stuffing her memory with flashes of the drowned brown boy, stop maligning her mind for things it recalls. The bandits raping her mother in masjid. The car crash that claimed her sister and left her with fractured gums. The degrading life with a father now abroad, Iyawo Okurimiran. Something shifts inside her belly. What use are books if words let memory cycle back to loss? A knock startles her. She doesn't turn. She already knows. It's time. The man has come to unburden her memories, to carry her body to the next chapter. Hasn't she been expecting him? The door creaks open, then shuts. Her thoughts drift, light as dust on the windowsill. The beetle has disappeared into the earth, its burden safely tucked away. It's time for her to turn into earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Thank you. And Bede, you're next on our list.
Yes. Oui, bonjour à tout le monde, bonjour. Donc, je m'appelle Bed Ngaruko, je suis écrivain, je suis interprète, je suis podcasteur, je suis ingénieur aussi. Je suis né au Burundi dans les années 70, que j'ai quitté dans les années 90, je dirais, à cause de la guerre là-bas. Alors, ce texte-là, c'est dans ce contexte de la guerre et de refuge que j'ai écrit. So my name is Bede. I'm a writer, I'm an interpreter, I'm a podcaster, but also an engineer in the other life. I have spent my adulthood in refugee camps in different cities in Africa. I was born in Burundi during a time of political upheaval, but I managed to survive war, exile, and now I'm here in New Zealand. I've got a memoir in progress, Django Journal, which actually traces that journey. And this extract is part of that memoir. For context, as I was saying, there was a war, and the country has been always a military rule since the independence in the 60s. In 93, they did elect the first president, and unfortunately, 3 months later, he was assassinated in a bloody coup. So this text is actually the day of the coup, where we have to run from our boarding school for our safety. The title I gave to this particular text is inspired by Nelson Mandela's own title, A Long Walk to Freedom. This one is A Long Walk to Safety. En français, in French, je vais lire donc en français. I'm going to read in French. Une longue marche vers le salut. À midi, c'était devenu évident, le coup d'État était consommé. Quelque chose avait changé dehors. L'air était plus lourd. Nous marchions avec plus de prudence. Nous parlions avec plus de retenue. Nous attendions que l'inévitable se produise, car ici, les coups d'État ne sont pas une fin. Ils sont, le plus souvent, que le commencement. Il fallait partir. Nous avons sauté la clôture de l'école et nous nous sommes mis à courir, moi et 2 amis. Nous avons traversé les broussailles, les pieds en sang dans les chaussures, trop fragiles pour les rochers. Je me suis retourné une seule fois. Le village où ce qu'il restait luisait faiblement, la fumée éclairée par la lune. Un souvenir en train de se dissoudre sous mes yeux. Lorsque nous nous sommes arrêtés, des heures plus tard, quelque part entre l'épuisement et l'effondrement, le monde avait irréversiblement changé. Je n'étais plus un élève, plus un garçon rentrant chez lui. J'étais un fugitif, dans une guerre qui n'avait pas encore de nom. Nous n'avions pas de carte, nous n'avions que la peur, celle qui aiguise les sens tout en brouillant l'avenir. La peur s'était enroulée autour de nous comme les couvertures que nous avions laissées au dortoir. Nous savions que notre seule chance de survivre était de franchir une frontière, n'importe laquelle. Nous ne savions pas ce que nous allions y trouver. Refuge, rejet, une balle, nous ne savions rien. Tout ce que nous savions, c'était que rester, c'était tout risquer. That's the end, the French version. In English, it says Long Walk to Safety, once again inspired by Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. By noon, it had become clear the coup had succeeded. Something had changed outside. The air was heavier. We walked more carefully. We spoke more cautiously. We waited for the other shoe to drop, because here coups are not the end. They are usually just the beginning. I needed to get out. We jumped the school fence and ran, me and two friends. We climbed through the bush, feet bleeding inside shoes too soft for rocks. I looked back once. The village that was left of it, or what was left of it, glowed faintly, smoke lit by moonlight, a memory dissolving in real time. By the time we stopped walking, hours later, somewhere between exhaustion and collapse, the world has irreversibly changed. I was no longer a student, no longer a boy returning home. I was a fugitive in a war that hadn't named itself yet. We didn't have a map. What we had was fear, the kind that sharpens your senses but blurs your future. Fear.
Je m'excuse. Je m'excuse. Bede. We can't hear you. Your sound has just dropped out.
Sorry.
Are you there now?
Yes, where did I drop?
I can't remember. Just go back a ways. It's beautiful to hear. So we could hear you just until about a minute ago. So
We can repeat the whole French, the English version if I mean.
yes, just go ahead and start with the English again. Let's hear
Apology.
the whole, because it's beautiful to hear it all together. Thank you.
Okay.
Merci.
Long walk to safety. By noon, it had become clear the coup had succeeded. Something had changed outside. The air was heavier. We walked more carefully. We spoke more cautiously. We waited for the other shoe to drop. Because here, coups are not the end. They are usually just the beginning. I needed to get out. We jumped the school fence and ran, me and two friends. We climbed through the bush, feet bleeding inside shoes too soft for rocks. I looked back once. The village, or what was left of it, glowed faintly, smoke lit by moonlight, a memory dissolving in real time. By the time we stopped walking, hours later, somewhere between exhaustion and the collapse, the world had irreversibly changed. I was no longer a student, no longer a boy returning home. I was a fugitive in a war that hadn't named itself yet. We didn't have a map. What we had was fear, the kind that sharpens your senses but blurs your future. Fear wrapped around us like the blanket we had left behind in the dormitory. We knew our only chance to survive was to cross a border, any border. We didn't know what we'd find there. Refuge, rejection, a bullet. We did not know. All we knew was that to stay was to risk everything. Thank you.
Kia ora. Merci bien. Sheila, you're up next. And following Sheila, we'll have Shreyasi and Anne, and then Shreyasi, and then Sharni. Thank you.
Díagwith Macoja, to Sheila Sanandam, to me ben na Heran, agus to Balio Clea, the Coney. Good morning, everyone. Sheila's my name. I'm an Irish woman and a Dubliner, which aren't quite the same things. This little piece that I wrote, it's quite a slight piece, and it sort of belongs to the tradition of Comhairle na Báin, which means women's wisdom. It's wisdom that was passed down through the ages orally from woman to woman, usually women who had very little power over their lives to women who would also have very little power over their lives. So it's a bleak, dark kind of wisdom, I suppose, conservation as comedy, a kind of dark joy, and also a form of love, I think, of a very stoic kind. Of my mother's kind. She loved to shock and surprise, and she loved to startle. So I will read this in English first because that is my first language. I was brought up in the Irish too. My father was a fluent speaker, but so I have a good working knowledge of it. But English is really my mother tongue. Although I do sometimes think I feel in Irish. So, advice. On my wedding day, as I dressed my hair, my hands shook, and my mother said with a crooked mouth, "You'll be all right. Just keep your legs open and your mouth shut." She laughed as I winced and went on to flounce down the aisle, despising her bitterness, her bile. But 5 years later and 3 kids on, the husband left and gone, I think on her black words and know them for some sour kind of sense. I'll read it in the Irish now. And I wrote this piece actually first in the English, but when I came to translate it into the Irish, I realized that I had sort of thought it in the Irish and almost internally translated it because it came so easily to the Irish. Lóm cóirla, lóm a fuista, agus mé a culma quid grúga I gart, bhí me láva cre, dúirt ma móthir béal cam urchi. By tú ceart go leor, cuine de cusa uscocha agus de béal dúnta. Rinne si goira, crom mise les an noira, agus trial me sias an persóiste go borb, agus dénis beagis fiú de sharvers de nív. Quig bliana ina dhé sin, trú a póistí a gam, agus far céile imethe ui. Cuimhín focail sharv, agus tuigim frí daire, agus cinnéil egna a bhír an tú, egna garv, egna sharv. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Beautiful. In that dry, dark way that you have. Thank you. Yeah, next we're going to Anne. And then following Anne, if you want to just pick up and read one after the other, that would be great. So Anne, and then Shreyasi, and then Sharni. You can just unmute and read when you're ready. Anne, willkommen.
Thank you, Michelle. Vielen Dank. So, my name is Anne. I currently live in Germany. I was lucky enough to be brought up bilingual. I feel it's very much a gift from my parents, having two worlds that I was able to live in. And this piece was originally written in English, and it's very much about the rhythm. And I found in translating it that there's a whole other rhythm in the German version, which I thought was very interesting, and it has a different feel to it too. So I'll start with the English. Not her boyfriend. He is not. He calls her all the time. He stays over, yes. They have great sex, post-fight always, but he is not. They fight a lot. She cries a lot. He says that they are done a lot, but they are not. She does not wear that dress now, the koi fish print one she loves. He thinks it's twee. Their kids have met, but he is not. They fight. She calls me daily. She tells me I can't lose him, but I can't ask why. She asks, can I bring him to the party? We don't say no. He makes you ugly cry. We say, okay. Because we're good friends. We don't judge. They bring brownies fresh from the oven, still hot, which he is not. His eyes are raisins. We exchange looks. He says little. He sits with the other men, the partners, lovers, husbands. His laugh is shrill. Her eyes search our faces nervously. Our faces are shuttered. We talk of menopause and fuss over the kids. Oh, look, you spilled your juice. The child with the Baby Shark t-shirt asks, so what is he? The table falls silent. His raisin eyes lock onto hers. Her daughter says, he's her boyfriend. Yes, she says, her voice pressed flat. His eyes unlock. She will call the next day, and I will weave and dodge for fear of offending her. I will say, I wish you'd worn that koi print dress. And now for the German. Nicht ihr Freund. Das ist er nicht. Er ruft sie ständig an. Er bleibt über Nacht, ja. Sie haben großartigen Sex. Immer nach einem Streit. Aber das ist er nicht. Sie streiten oft. Sie weint viel. Er sagt oft, dass es vorbei ist. Aber das ist es nicht. Sie trägt das Kleid jetzt nicht mehr. Das mit dem Koi-Fischdruck, das sie so liebt. Er findet es kitschig. Ihre Kinder haben sich kennengelernt. Aber das ist er nicht. Sie streiten sich. Sie ruft mich an, täglich. Sie sagt, ich will ihn nicht verlieren. Aber ich kann sie nicht fragen, warum? Sie fragt, kann ich ihn mit zur Party bringen? Wir sagen nicht, nein, er bringt dich zum Weinen. Wir sagen, okay, weil wir gute Freunde sind. Wir urteilen nicht. Sie bringen Brownies mit, frisch aus dem Ofen, noch heiß, was er nicht ist. Seine Augen sind Rosinen. Wir tauschen Blicke aus. Er sagt wenig. Er sitzt bei den anderen Männern, den Partnern, Liebhabern, Ehemännern. Sein Lachen ist schrill. Ihre Augen suchen nervös unsere Gesichter. Unsere Gesichter sind verschlossen. Wir reden über die Wechseljahre und machen viel Aufhebens um die Kinder. Oh, schau mal, du hast deinen Saft verschüttet. Das Kind mit dem Baby Shark T-Shirt fragt, was ist er denn? Am Tisch wird es still. Seine Rosinenaugen fixieren ihre. Ihre Tochter sagt, er ist ihr Freund. Ja, sagt sie, und ihre Stimme klingt beklommen. Seine Augen lassen ab von ihr. Sie wird am nächsten Tag anrufen, und ich werde ausweichen und mich drücken, aus Angst, sie vor den Kopf zu stoßen. Ich werde sagen, ich wünschte, du hättest das Kleid mit den Kois getragen.
Okay, thanks very much. Vielen Dank. Das war super. Shreyasi, we'd love to hear you read your story.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम श्रेयसी है। मेरा जन्म भारत में हुआ। मैंने 10 साल सिंगापुर में बिताए और अब मैं न्यूजीलैंड में रहती हूँ। यानी मैं 3 देशों की संतान हूँ। मैंने हाल ही में पीएचडी पूरी की है और भविष्य में क्या होगा ये जानने की प्रतीक्षा में मैं अपना अधिकांश समय पढ़ने और लिखने में व्यतीत करती हूँ। मैं 4 भाषाएं बोलती हूँ। अंग्रेजी मेरी मातृभाषा है और मैं हिंदी और मराठी में पढ़ लिख सकती हूँ और बंगाली बोल सकती हूँ। आज मैं जो कहानी सुना रही हूँ वो पश्चिम बंगाल में घटित होती है और एक बुजुर्ग महिला के जीवन पर आधारित है जो कोलकाता के एक कभी शाही रहे अब जर्जर हो चुके घर की खिड़कियों से ऋतुओं के बदलते स्वरूप को देखती है। Hello, my name is Shreyasi. I was born in India, lived in Singapore for a decade, and now call New Zealand home, making me a child of 3 countries. I recently completed a PhD, and while I wait to see what the future holds, I spend much of my time reading and writing. I speak 4 languages with English as my first, and I also read and write Hindi and Marathi and speak Bangla. The story I'm sharing today is set in West Bengal and follows an elderly woman who watches the seasons pass from behind the windows of a once royal and now dilapidated house in Kolkata. क्या महादेवी यहाँ रहने आएंगी? दीवारें पिघल चुकी है और जगह जगह से सिकुड़ गई है। कुछ स्थानों पर हड्डियों तक झुलस चुकी है, तो कुछ पर झड़ती हुई झुर्रीदार रंगत के ऊपर काई की परत एक नई त्वचा सी उग आई है। अंदर हर चीज विलुप्त वैभव की गवाही देती है। बारीक कारीगरी वाली लोहे के रेलिंग, मोती जड़े चाय के मेज, साड़ियों को सुखाने के लिए सागौन की लकड़ी के रैक और छेद भरी मच्छरदानियां जो प्राचीन पलंगों पर लटक रही है। लोहे की बनी कुर्सियां धारीदार फर्श की टाइलों पर जंग खा रही है, जो अंतहीन बरामदों में बिछी है। उपनिवेशकालीन खिड़कियां जंग लगी कड़ियों पर झूल रही है, ईंट गारे की मेहराबों से घिरी हुई। उनके लकड़ी के शटर जो कभी गहरे हरे थे, अब थके हुए खाकी रंग में ढल चुके हैं। कभी रेशमी पर्दों से सजी रहने वाली ये खिड़कियां अब नंगी है। कोई इनमें झांकने की जहमत नहीं उठाता। इन्हीं खिड़कियों में से एक के पीछे तुम बैठी हो। तुम्हारी आंखों के किनारे झुर्रियों से घिरे हैं। तुम्हारी त्वचा पर समय की छाप खुदी हुई है। तुमने तपते सूरज की धूप को तारकोल की सड़क पिघलाते देखा है। तुमने मानसून को कोमल झोंकों में बहते महसूस किया है और फिर इस हवेली को कोड़े की तरह झकझोरते हुए भी देखा है, मानो उसे गिरा ही देगा। शरद ऋतु में तुमने शहर को रंग और उल्लास में पागल होते देखा है, जब बंगाल के अपने वार्षिक प्रवास पर महादेवी स्वयं हिमालय से उतर आती है। आज जब धुंध आंगन को घेर लेती है, तुम ठंड से सिहर उठती हो। फिल्म की टीम अगले कुछ हफ्तों तक इधर उधर दौड़ती भागती रहेगी, एक और पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी की गाथा को फिल्मों के लिए जिसमें काजल को फिल्माने के लिए जिसमें काजल से भरी आंखें होंगी, नकली सोने के जेवर, तेल से चिपके पेरूक और गोंदे से चिपके मूछे। औरों की तरह वे भी पैसे चुकाकर चले जाएंगे और तुम यहीं बैठी रहोगी, उन्हीं लकड़ी के शटरों के पीछे, ठंडी दार्जिलिंग चाय की चुस्कियां लेती हुई, सोचती हुई कि क्या कभी महादेवी सच में यहाँ मेरे संग रहने आएंगी। So this was the Hindi version, and now for the English. It's titled, Will the Goddess Come to Stay? The walls are melted and pinched, some places consumed to the bare bone, others scabbed over by an epidermis of moss over layers of peeling wrinkled paint. Inside, everything indicates splendor long extinct. Baroque iron railings, pearl inlaid tea tables, teak sari drying racks, and hole-riddled mosquito nets draped over antique bedposts. Wrought iron chairs rust on checkered floor tiles that line endless verandas. Colonial windows hang loose on rusty hinges bordered by brick and mortar arches. Their wooden louvres, originally a deep green, are now a tired khaki. Once favored by ornate silk curtains, the windows are now bare. No one cares to look through them. It's behind one of these windows that you sit, your eyes lined with crow's feet, your skin carved by time. You've watched the April sun melt the tar road. You felt the monsoon drift by in tender gusts and then whiplash the house till it threatens to yield. Come autumn, you've watched the city explode into mad color and furious celebration as the great goddess herself descends from the Himalayas for her yearly tryst with Bengal. Today you shiver as winter fogs the courtyard. The crew will scuttle and clamor around for a couple of weeks, filming yet another intergenerational period drama, chock-a-block full of coal, fake gold jewelry, oil-slicked wigs, and glued-on mustaches. Like everyone else, they'll pay up and leave. and you'll still be here behind the louvres, sipping cold Darjeeling tea, wondering whether one day the goddess at least will come to stay.
Right, shall I go? Kia ora, ohayou gozaimasu. Shani to moshimasu. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. So my name's Shani. I'm from New Zealand. I'm currently living in London, and I'd like to read a short excerpt from my book, One to Many and Other Experiments. Actually, with this story, I'm going to read from the ending, but if you're interested in experiencing the whole thing, I also created this interactive version, and I can share a link to that if anyone's interested. Yes. So this is from the ending of a story about a stalker and his victim who've never met, written in DMs in Japanese and English. So after a series of escalating messages, the stalker says he's coming to find her and then goes quiet. And many years later, this is the message that he sends just out of the blue. And it will be Japanese followed by English, but alternating, if that makes sense. So Japanese, English, Japanese, English, like that. あなたの夢を見ました。何か意味があるはずです。10階からあなたが走り去ってゆくのが見えました。まるで校内に舌が収まるようにあなたの赤いドレスが樹木に飲み込まれる様子が遠くにちらりと見えました。僕は精一杯の速さであなたを追いかけました。僕だけがあなたを救い出せる人間だってわかっているから。でも、あなたは消えてしまいました。I had a dream about you. It must mean something. I saw you running away into the sea of trees, the faraway flicker of your red dress swallowed up by the tree trunks like a tongue into a mouth, and I followed as fast as I could. I knew I was the only one who could save you, but you had disappeared. 最後にあなたを見かけた場所まで走り続けたはずが通り過ぎてしまっていました。おそらくあなたは見えないトンネルの中へ落ち、怪我をしているのではと僕は思ったのです。背中を打った衝撃で叫ぶこともできないでいるのではと。僕はあなたがよく通る場所にたどり着いていたのに、二人ともそのことに気づかずにいたのです。I kept running to the point where I'd last seen you and then past it. I had the feeling that you'd fallen down a hidden tunnel, hurt yourself, winded, couldn't scream. That maybe I'd run right by where you lay, and neither of us knew. 辺りは暗くなり始めていました。必死に見回したけれど、辺り一面、木々しかなかったのです。僕は一りぼっちでした。雨も降り始めました。読んでも読んでも返事はなく。It was getting darker. I looked around wildly. In all directions, nothing but trees. I was alone. It started to rain. I called and called. No answer. 大切なあなたの体が冷たい泥まみれの地下で貝殻のように繊細な耳もブロンドの髪も木の根や枝に絡まってしまった状態であなたは横たわっているように思えました。あなたが髪を染めているのは知ってます。別にいいじゃない。隠さなくていいからね。どうか友達になってください。 I thought about your precious body lying in the cold dirt underground, ears like shells, blonde hair tangled with roots and branches. I know you dye your hair, and that's okay. You don't have to hide. Please be my friend. That's the end. 以上です。
Arigato.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sharni. That was wonderful. What a lot of amazing readings. And so great that we began with Vaughn, who had his prize announcement. It's very exciting. And our last reader, I didn't plan it this way, but our last reader is Sharni. And I have Sharni's book here, One to Many and Other Experiments. This book was published by At the Bay Ite Kokoro in 2024. It was one of the first books that we published in our new series with At the Bay. So we had 3 books that year, and this was one of them. It won the Hybrid Manuscript Prize that was selected by David Eggleton and Harry Ricketts. And everything was read blind, and this was the manuscript that won, and then we published the book. And the reason I'm holding it up and sharing it with you, yes, you can buy it. I see the question in the comments. You can go to the At the Bay website, and I'll put that link in. But at any rate, Sharni has just received the news. We're closing with a prize announcement as well. She's received the news that this book is on the international shortlist for the William Saroyan Prize. It's a prize for writing that encourages emerging writers, and it's looking for originality, vitality, and innovation. That's what it says about the prize, and it's hosted by Stanford University. If you find that shortlist prize, we were astounded and happy to see this news, because there's a lot of really big international publishers, and then it's Sharni Wilson, and the authors are listed alphabetically. So there's Sharni at the bottom of the list with At the Bay from Aotearoa. So we are very, very pleased and excited for you, Sharni, about that shortlisting. It's really phenomenal. Congratulations. So I would love, we have just a little bit more time here in our hour. We got a little bit of a late start today, but I would love to open up the floor and ask you, you can just unmute and let's just speak with each other for a little bit. I'd love to ask the question, when you move between languages, I mean, for some of you, it's your mother tongue. For some of you, it's a language you grew up with. Perhaps for some of you, it's a little more distant, but it's meaningful and important to you. When you move between languages, does the sense of yourself change with it? Anne mentioned that the rhythms, and of course, and I speak German, so I could understand that the rhythms are very different between those 2 stories. Same with Beres in French, which I also understand. So it was interesting to hear that. The rhythms are always different. And of course, Vaughn will be able to speak a lot to that, moving between English, Chinese, I think, lots of languages also. Maori, of course, and from the Philippines as well. You've lived in the Philippines. Everybody can just unmute. I would love to hear some of you talk a bit about that feeling of your sense of self when you're in different languages. Does somebody want to start? Anne, you brought that up at the beginning about rhythm. Do you want to address that just a moment?
Yeah, so I mean, I think being able to move between languages is fantastic. I think language gives you the ingredients and, you know, to build whatever you're doing creatively. But when you have a different language, you have different ingredients. And I think it does allow you, it almost forces you to reinvent yourself a little bit. So I do feel like there's a slightly different personality comes out when I switch languages, and I do it professionally as well. So I switch back and forth, as do some of my colleagues. And I do think that it brings out different sides of yourself. And I think, again, I think it's an amazing gift to be given, to be able to do that, and, you know, just to experiment with different ingredients.
Yeah, I think there's that quote, we are as much human as the language we speak, or as many times human as the language we speak. I'm sure I've mangled that, but that's the gist of it. And I think that is very true. We are able to express different parts of ourselves. Sometimes we find parts of ourselves that we did not really know existed in another language. I mean, I certainly feel that in Irish, that what is seen as quite dark in English is much less so in Irish. It's more grounded and more practical and more part of that cultural tradition. And the same when I went to live in Spain, I found that I was able to express parts of myself there that I would have felt foolish expressing either in English or Irish, actually. So I think that is the great gift of language. Yeah.
Also, I think a language itself has its own personality. So even if you're like, for example, I began learning Korean a few years ago, and just with lots of K-dramas, and I picked up some stuff, and I fell in love with the language. And one of my all-time dreams is to be able to read and write in Korean someday. But Korean is so different to English. The subject, object, verb, order, that's different. So when you're saying something in English, it has its own personality. You're saying the same thing in Korean, it has its completely different personality. It has a quirk to it, which probably won't be visible, rather audible in English. And also context. It's extremely context oriented. So the meaning of something could change depending on the context in Korean, whereas it could not change so much in English. So those are the things that happen when you're moving between languages. Those are the things to enjoy and watch out for as well.
Yeah, and that thing about personality is so interesting because it even comes down to, the way we hold ourselves, these things that we're not even completely aware of, gestures or, just small moments in the body that come out when we're speaking other languages. We're different in Spanish or Irish or French or German. And I think we're able to, I think that's one of the reasons why people as adults are kind of a little bit hesitant about learning new languages. It's harder because we have all of those rhythms already built into our bodies and we have to break them to get into the new languages. And I think if you learn languages young, you're much more open to that. That's why growing up bilingual is so important for people who do. And you can explore. I love what you all are saying about things like also humor. I'm going to say I'm funny in German. I really am. So, and to dispel any myths at all, German not only, I think it's a beautiful language, it's also, and you will hear that in Anne's reading, but it's also, it is funny. There are very funny moments with the German language, and it's also an excellent language for rap. If anybody's never listened to German rap, you probably want to go do that. It's so good because it's so rhythmic and sharp. It can be really, really good. Others who want to weigh in here.
Yeah, now that you mentioned German, I think for me, there is a saying in French that traduire, c'est trahir. When you read the different texts in different languages, that's where you lose that personality, you lose that rhythm of the language, and you lose the meaning. I grew up in a Christian family. I would read the Bible in my language. Now I take the French version, the English version, the Kirundi version. They're sometimes completely different. Like the interpretation is off track. But also when you see a translation of Albert Camus or Jean-Paul Sartre in English, it's like, no, you didn't give me. I don't feel that. It's not it. And I wonder, but also sometimes I read the Germans, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, the Tolstoy in Russia, and the Dostoevsky, and
also funny guys.
Yeah, particularly Schopenhauer. That's why I was laughing. Anyway, so it's too soon.
I'm sorry. I just thought that was funny. So go on, you're reading them, yes. Nietzsche,
so when I'm
Schopenhauer.
reading them in French and in English, I can see there is a difference, and I'm like, I wish I understood the German or Russian, and I could really read the original
one, yes, because something is always lost in translation.
Always.
Always.
You can notice, so that's quite interesting. I always have this sort of wish.
You know what you should do, Bede? You should try reading the Bible in Korean. That would be fun.
Oh, that would be fun. Okay, I'll try that one.
Also a good challenge. Vaughn, I know that you'll have lots to say about this. Of course, we've talked about a lot of this before, but for the group here and for the audience, this moving between languages, because you also move between at least 4 languages yourself in your daily life.
Yeah, I do. Language is your ontology. Language frames your epistemological perception of the world, which in another language is completely different. So basically, that transcends to your ontology. Different languages give you a different aspect of your being. Existentially, we're going to talk about Sartre and Camus. Your language is you at any given time. And when you are speaking several languages in one day, even in the same hour, your perspective widens considerably. Your cultural aspirations and cultural perspective is huge. And you grow as a person and you have much more empathy and insight into other cultures. Now, I'm fortunate that Māori and English are my first 2 languages, but I speak Tagalog fluently because my wife is from Philippines. I speak Chinese reasonably well because I've lived in Hong Kong I'm a Hong Kong permanent resident and lived in China. And all these different languages, especially if you're tired, mesh in your head. And you come out different. And you write differently, and you write in several languages, and you speak in several languages, and you're better for it. So again, a language is your existential basis, the way you are. And I feel sorry for people who only have one language. They're ignorant in many ways, especially they don't even try to learn another language. And that's enough from me about languages.
I totally agree. We can all feel so comfortable with each other with our languages. But there is something missing. I think the other thing about language, even if you take on another language, like I love Shreyasi learning Korean now. That's wonderful because you are stepping into another culture and you are learning not just the language, the technical, the grammar, you're learning about an entire history or something about landscape and feelings that almost can't be described with language. So learning the language is an open door to something that's beyond language, maybe. And I love that. And I do think that people who are afraid of it, are unable to access it, don't know where to learn new languages. I feel like the world is a place where everybody should be opening up, and not closing down. So I love that this group here feels so open and willing. I'm sure we all want to learn each other's languages now as well. I feel like it's really important. I grew up learning languages. My mother taught French. She's a musician. I think language is always about music also. It's so musical and we're different musically in different languages as well. So I learned French early and then I learned German and that became the language. I lived in Germany for a long time. And for me, and my children grew up bilingual also, which I think is really important. If they have the opportunity. That's a really good thing to try to do. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the key. I think if people have the opportunity.
Right.
And I also think that one of the things people find very difficult about learning new languages is that you have to make yourself very vulnerable. And that's hard for people because you're beginning again. Mm-hmm. And the Spanish have this beautiful saying, they say, la manera de ser. It's a different way of being. And that's what you have to learn too.
That's right.
And that is really hard for an adult because you must let go of certainty. And certainty is what we cling on to in order to feel safe in the world. So I think that is really hard to overcome for a lot of people. And if it's not part of your la manera de ser, then it's even harder. If it's not part of, it's hard to do. And people fear judgment and that whole climb upwards into language. It's difficult. Yeah. It is difficult.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that's what I agree. And that's what I was getting at with it's not just a matter of learning the grammar and understanding the mechanics of another language. It's that things happen in your body that change you when you are in another language. And that I think is the difficult part of it because it's all those subtleties. It's not just the outward pronunciation and which we're afraid of also. I mean, you're right. It can be really hard because whatever you're doing in another language, you're putting it out there and looking for what is received, right? It's a give and take always. So
also, I think when you're learning another language and trying to speak in that language, as she said, not just not correct, but it's counterproductive to try and speak in that language being yourself, or rather thinking the way you have always thought, or thinking just the way you are. You've got to, for example, when I speak Korean, if I speak Korean as an English speaking person, as a with a person with whose first language is English, my Korean comes out terrible. Like, I can feel the awkwardness in me. But then in my head, if I make a switch and tell myself, okay, I'm a native speaker, but I'm new, I'm learning, but I'm not an English speaking person at that point, things change, because my perspective changes. I change as a person. I begin to kind of channel the culture that I am trying to channel. The same with Japanese. When I watch a lot of Japanese drama as well, and Mandarin. I love those three languages. So when she was speaking, you could see how Sharni was kind of channeling Japanese. At that point, she was not a native English speaker. She was a Japanese speaker, and that helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I
To
have
let
to
go
run
of your
now.
sense of self, I think.
I'm
That's
sorry,
okay.
I have to run now.
That's fine.
Oh,
I think we'll wrap up there anyway, because we've come to our hour. It's been a wonderful session with you all. Thank you so much for sharing your time, for getting up early on a Saturday morning, or coming in late on the nighttime for some of you. So thank you very much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know we could talk longer, but we will do it again. So until then, wishing you a wonderful night and a wonderful day. And for everybody listening, enjoy the rest of the sessions in the festival.
Thank you so
much.
Slán.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye bye.
much.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
どうもありがとうございます。